I keep going back to it because Telluride had that vibe also. You know, they kind of saw what Aspen was doing, and they were smaller, but they were able to pull it together. They had some amazing people with their film fest there. The Telluride Film Festival is like an internationally ranked festival that makes Aspen film look like, you know, podunk. But
yeah, Andy goes almost every year.
I've been going since '94.
Oh, okay. So
I've been going.
But those events where I remember seeing like Cab Calloway and meeting Werner Herzog and
Werner's there every year. Werner's on the street saying hi to people.
I shot an interview with Faye Dunaway.
Wow.
And, you know, set up to shoot this thing with her. I don't even know what movie she brought there, but she was there.
The Barfly or something. Yeah.
Could have been. And I set the camera up. I'm getting ready. She goes, "Wow, I like you. You know how to shoot me." And I went, "Huh?" She's going, "Oh, yeah, this is you. How did you know this is the right angle?" And I'm like, luck. And who else was there? It was Philip Glass. I got to hang out with Philip Glass, and I said, when are you going to come back to Aspen? Like, because Philip Glass went to the Aspen Music School at one point, Juilliard, and was out here. And I said, when can we get you back to Aspen to come and do something here? And he goes, well, I'm just waiting for an invitation. And it turns out the guy who was running the festival at the time was just kind of a jerk, and never, Philip Glass never was invited back. We still could, but guys running it now.
Here's the thing with Philip Glass was he was notoriously known at Telluride because he would do the Allied Orchestra thing. He would lead the Allied Orchestra, so they get real old black and white film, and the whole thing was about the soundtrack, and it was the Allied Orchestra and Philip Glass. So it was kind of a cool experience to go do that.
No, so did you know the Pences? You know Stella and Bill?
Yeah, and I've talked to them in line a couple times.
Right, very cool.
Yeah, and I think the thing that I feel like is a good example of Telluride is the Slumdog Millionaire, and that Danny Boyle did that film, and nobody liked it because it was like an Englishman doing a Bollywood film, and so they hated on him for that, and the whole industry, it was hard for him to deal with that stigma of that. And
weird.
A friend from Telluride said, "Dude, don't sign with HBO for your DVD release. Let's show it and give us one shot to try to get it landed." And within the first night, he was talking industry distribution, possible Oscar competition, and he won the Oscar, and it wouldn't have won had that not happened. So it is festivals like that.
Powerful, very powerful. Who was it? The other one, like some of my favorite films that are still stuck in my head, like Repo Man and was it Paris, Texas, or something like? All these these great movies came through there. Yeah. And I kind of wish we had an indie movie theater. I keep hoping our film fest they own the ISIS now, and they've got 5 screens.
Yeah, you guys used to have a couple different theaters for the festival and stuff. Now the Playhouse burned up, so. And the Opera House is kind of busy with all kinds of different things.
They're too busy. Yeah, they're too busy. The ISIS has 5 screens, but they show crap. And even now that the Film Fest owns the ISIS, they still show crap. It makes me so mad. First run films and lame stuff, but they could have an art house screen, just like one theater there could be devoted to art house and resurrecting old movies and stuff. So who knows? Maybe they will. Right now, they don't even have it. I was in there last night. We went and saw Fall Guy, and there's a bright light shining on the screen. So throughout all the previews and everything, this house light is just flooding this. So I was thinking, how could anybody in cinema allow that? I get so mad. I don't really want to go back, but maybe they'll sort it out.
So how do they pick who's involved? Is it just someone steps in and takes on that position, or does
the film Aspen Film, we have Aspen Film, which was started as Film Fest by probably a bunch of your mom's friends back in the day, Ellen Koner and Joyce Semple and Dee Dee Brinkman and Judy Royer and a bunch all started this Film Fest, and I volunteered and was their token male for a while when I was like 25. And then it grew. They all kind of graduated out of it, and it's now has a board, and they have a budget, and they've got a director who's this fancy LA lady, and most of the time they do some good stuff, but a lot of the time it's just unfortunately, they own this theater, and they probably can't really afford to do what they'd like to do in it, and so it's still rented out like a crappy movie house. It smells like rancid corn.
Well, what I found too is the indie market's a little different than the big studio world, and everybody likes to get the big studio people in, but there's sort of a disconnect with the big studio and the indie world. You know what I mean? I mean, they dance around a little, but I feel like in Telluride, I can see the difference between the real indie folk and the real big studio folk, And if you appreciate that, like Dee Dee, she's an independent person. And so you can kind of shape a festival in that way. Whereas I feel like, when it becomes just a thing, it's different. And that's one area where I feel like Telluride has maintained its thing. It's grown a little bit, but it hasn't really changed that much. Yeah, they got a bit more mainstream films in there trying to get audience feedback and that kind of stuff, but it still has a lot of international stuff, which is the stuff I go check out. Oops.
They're discriminating. I'm gonna move here. They're discriminating, and they somehow have the pull that they can pull really great people out of Eastern Europe and France and great stuff. Bring back these famous old people, and I don't think Aspen has any of that really. It's unfortunate. We have people who are connected to the movie industry, but usually it's like people who are in the business and they want to show their latest film, which we did have. The Perfect Day, which is my favorite film of the last year, is shown here, and that was cool. Perfect Day is a perfect day. And, so they do show them occasionally, and maybe I'm not giving them enough credit, but often it just seems like who's in charge here? Why aren't they? They could do so much, but maybe the audience doesn't exist here anymore.
It almost feels like the ambassadors are kind of the thing, because with Telluride, you've got Werner Herzog and Ken Burns. And when those guys are out there, it's like they're independent people, and they sort of represent that spirit. Right. And so when they say stuff and bring stuff, it almost feels like Aspen needs someone like that.
Right.
Need some folks.
And we've got like second-rate B movie directors, doing that. We've got the guy, my new buddy is a guy named Tim Johnson. Is Johnson Productions. And he's a crazy man, but he makes Hallmark Hall of Fame movies. He makes like 25 movies a year. Wow! And is making a fortune, but they're all the same crappy story. I don't even think he watches them. Right. But I was thinking, okay, well, if that's the kind of guy we have involved here, we're going to be looking at crap. So,
it's funny. I think it's like independent film and even old films. We had out here in Athens, we had for a few years, was the Robert Osborne Film Festival, where they would pull, some of the old stars from, the black and white stuff and in the 50s and the 60s and bring them out and kind of show those films and stuff. And it was okay. I mean, it even with an audience that was larger than I think you would see in Aspen, it was still very sparsely attended. Right. So I think it is tough. And we do have an art house theater here in town, but it's very small,
How big is Athens?
It's probably, Clark County's probably 120,000, but the area where we're at is probably closer to 250 now, I think.
Okay, wow.
Like that.
So it's a big enough, you say you've got a big enough crowd to support an art house, but.
Oh yeah, and we have the university, which, there's tons of students and, but I do think it's a sort of an acquired taste. And I don't know about you, but like in my household, if we're going to a movie, it's to see another remake of Spider-Man or something, just because that's what my kids are into,
Well,
and
that's,
I think we saw Fall Guy was the last one. Yeah.
I almost got sucked into the Planet of the Apes. Willow went to the Planet of the Apes, and Maureen and I went to Fall Guy. Yeah. And Fall Guy was entertaining, but I'm a big Emily Blunt fan, and I thought, she was great, but I like her in other movies better, but still.
Yeah, it was entertaining though. I mean, it definitely was.
I've just been called a snob by my child. My crush, Emily Blunt is my crush. I've announced that to everybody in the family.
I've been doing these double features since I did the Playhouse. I was at the Playhouse,
right?
And so I just did a double feature with that and Hooper, because I felt like
I haven't seen that.
The two different. Yeah, I remember I saw that at the Playhouse actually. Hooper.
Okay.
Yeah, when Don Swales owned that place, it kind of went through some hands, changed a little.
Yeah, sure. Oh, that's cool. It's cool to see your. I didn't realize. Forgot you had the movie, such a movie background. That's pretty cool.